everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? Duck you, Chris Meaney. Great.
Wow, right off the hop like that.
Start.
Nice.
I know, right out of the hopper. Yeah, and hey, duck the Mets too. This is why 2 years ago I bought this San Diego Padres hat as a protest when the Wilpons were still in charge, and I think I'd bring it back after the 1 year you might have DeGrom and Scherzer back together. By the way, when you're watching this on Monday in your area where this is old, that's why we're wearing all the same clothes for the second part of the show. That's a half hour, just in case you're wondering if you're watching on Game Plus. That's why, because we're doing a full-size hour-and-a-half show, mock draft show, fantasy football time, to see how we're drafting at the start of August. The Flex Leagues this weekend kicks off draft season in New York, so you want to tune into that or check the draft boards because they're already done, depending on when you're watching in your area. So all that type of stuff. And if you're watching Tuesday, come back next week. Exciting news. Sneak preview. There's something going to be happening between now and next Tuesday, so you'll have to tune in Tuesday. But I promised also the first giveaway of the Band Kickers t-shirts. Funny enough, I don't know how this happened. Congratulations. This is so eerie. Matthew DuPont, actually, you dropped the same comment in this live chat before we even started the show, which was the random comment that got picked. I did one of those. I did the spinning wheel thing that I always use for the show. And Matthew DuPont from the last show was the one that actually came up. So congratulations, Matthew DuPont. You're the first one to get a Band Kickers t-shirt. Continue. Every show still doing this. Drop comments in after. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, and stuff like that. And that's all you have to do. And you're entered in to get a Band Kickers t-shirt. So, mock draft today. It's typical, same old, what you see everywhere, half-point PPR, 12 teams. We're going to be doing it live. I'm hoping this is going to work. This is live, as you can see, as we do a show. I'm giving Foxy, our producer, the link to hopefully we can get the fourth screen board and see if this works for him. I'm already on the clock because I took the first pick because it'd be easiest to run the show and kind of have the turn or whatever. I'm going to let it time out and even take Jonathan Taylor for me because that's what it should do. But, the mock draft is starting. It's slowly starting. But anyway, that's what we're doing today. Initial thoughts. I'm on the clock. Lauren, your pick. What pick did you pick, by the way?
I took pick 10.
She's 10.
So why did you pick 10? Because a lot of people ask, like, what's your favorite spot to draft from?
Yeah, it's my least favorite spot to draft from, which is why I picked it, because practice makes perfect. Inevitably, I can say that. I'm always in the back of the drafts when I do my home leagues and, bar leagues and things. So I was like, you know what? I better start getting really good at drafting from this spot. And I also kind of want to see different draft strategies, how they work, how they don't. That's the fun thing about mock drafting is it's not your real team. So you can play around and do different things and see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then don't do it at your draft. Why not?
Well said.
Don't do your draft. Chris, you took pick 4. Any reason to pick 4?
No, not really. I was just trying to. I've done a few of these. I know we did one last week. I think I may have taken 2 or 3. But yeah, just kind of putting myself in different spots to get a feel. And I think a lot of people should do that as well. I mean, even if you're pretty comfortable, doing mock drafts, you see it come up here on the board. Oh,
yeah,
baby, Fox all over it. Just like be a little different, see what your team feels like after the first couple of rounds, early parts of drafts, middle parts, and towards the end. But this is kind of where I want to be, actually, as I'm on the clock. This is it. Most of these mocks will go RB heavy, but I think, for me and a lot of my leagues, I feel like it'll be opposite. I feel like it'll be kind of wide receiver heavy. Like, I don't think I'll be able to get Cup at 4 in most leagues, and I'm going to do that right now.
All right, so that's what I was about to ask you. So before we even get to, I kind of figured that's where you're going after our conversation. Actually, that's what Lauren would do too. Lauren and I had the conversation yesterday, depending on when you're watching, is that you would conversation for the number 1 pick, and I went Jonathan Taylor, just chalky there. Slow your roll there, Chris. I was gonna get to your pick.
And then all the picks just happened right away. So I had to.
Yeah, no, that's why. Yeah, slow your roll on this. They're gonna really fast. I was gonna get. Oh, wait. Look, Lauren, you're not supposed to pick either. Slow your roll, people.
But the timer, there's the timer.
Yeah, I gave you 90 seconds. There's so much time. Oh my gosh!
Time on the second pick, Lauren.
Najee Harris went second. I was going to ask you, Chris, if would you go Najee Harris or Christian McCaffrey, and then you could talk about the fact that you took Cooper Kupp at 104. You still have a full minute, Lauren. So hold on before you can make your pick.
I would not go Harris at 2. I've seen some people talk about how Harris shouldn't be a first-round pick. I disagree with that. I know the line is bad and the quarterback play is bad, but man, this guy led the league in touches. There's no competition there. He's going to catch a bunch of balls out of the backfield. He's just going to be at least top 3 in touches. I wouldn't take him there, but I would, after Henry, like Taylor, CMC, Henry, I do have Harris ranked next, but I would rather CMC and Jefferson over Najee. And I mean, Kupp is super safe. Year 2 in this offense with Stafford and company. I'm in on Kupp.
Okay, so we did the entire first rounds of the last 2 shows, so we'll get to Lauren. Lauren, 10th pick, Cook, who we already have people asking about Cook, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb still on the board, and you took Stephon Diggs. You didn't even take one of the big 3. You went Diggs because, and then you can go ahead and make your next pick and explain your next pick too. And unmute yourself would be nice. That would be like, yeah.
Sorry, I had to cough, so I put it on mute, and then I moved my mouse over to my screen so I could make my selection because that countdown clock freaks me out.
These 2 are pros. I want you to know these 2 are pros.
Without fail, scares the crap out of me. So I took Mark Andrews here at this position. I over Travis Kelce, by the way. We talked about this on the show before, Jake. I actually have a little bit more faith in Mark Andrews than I do Travis Kelce simply because of the lack of offensive weapons that the Chiefs have this season as opposed to last season. So I'm liking Mark Andrews here.
Okay. Ooh, Mark Andrews in the second round. Early.
Yeah, it's early.
The Kelce Andrews thing, Meaney. What do you think about taking either one of them in the early second round?
I would rather Andrews than Kelce. You know, typically I see him end of first, early second. I wouldn't be shocked, Lauren, if Andrews had a better season than Travis Kelce. Like, he's the clear one, and I suppose we could say that with Kelce, but there's a lot of different moving pieces at the wide receiver position in Kansas City, which is not really the case in Baltimore. They have like a career 130 catches, I think, in that wide receiver room, led by Devin Duvernay. So I don't mind the pick there. I'm kind of stuck here what I'm going to do. Like Saquon and Cam Akers, they're really side by side. I'll probably take Jake's boy here, Barkley, on the show, regular appearance. Jake has too much Saquon as it is. So I'll lock in Saquon there. You really
did that just because you did that on purpose? Is that really why? Like,
you weren't going to get you weren't going to get him.
What are you talking about? I was going to get him. There's only 2 more picks.
Yeah, team 3 and team 2 are going to be all over Saquon there in that situation. But those 2, and I feel like drafting early in the first or midway through the first, I feel like I'm going to have that decision, in a lot of my drafts. And I'm actually fine with either or. I know you guys talked the other day, Jake, with Ratcliffe about Cam Akers, sometimes falling to the 3rd and 4th, but I think that's a huge mistake. I think both of those guys are really, really strong RB1s.
Yeah, you 100% did that on purpose. There's no question about it. So, wow. Alvin Kamara, Zeke, and then now I'm on the board. Javonte Williams actually went before Barkley, CeeDee Lamb, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, and then we're back up to the tight ends we already talked about. So, since Chris just talked for a little bit, Lauren, I'll ask you that. I know we already talked Zeke on a previous show, but not yesterday. Thank you in the comments. We made the draft board so it's easier to see for you guys. So keep chiming in. Very Tell us how bad all of our picks suck. That's not, that's what we're here for. Zeke at 211, Lauren. Thoughts on Zeke? It's still in the second round on this draft.
I think it's interesting. I like it. Not surprising though. I mean, a lot of people are kind of worried about Ezekiel Elliott, so I don't know.
Chris?
Oh, you and your back.
I think. I think I'm out on Zeke, but, to get him here at the end of the second or the early third, I mean, he could be a quote-unquote league winner for you. I mean, he played through injury last year. He still finished with 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. Like, he still finishes the top, RB6 in fantasy points per game. I don't have a lot of moving pieces there. They're going to have Pollard on the field quite a bit with Zeke, so I probably would rather pass and maybe a Hall and an ETN a little bit later on, but you are rolling the dice a little bit if you want a potential bell cow back.
Yeah, so your quick thoughts, and then we'll go back to you, Lauren. I did take Cam Akers, as you know. I mean, it was going to be one of the two picks. I mean, it was clearly going to be one of the two picks. And we talk Cam Akers ad nauseum on this show. But even if I took a wide receiver here, I'm, Chris, 7 wide receivers through the first 2 rounds. That doesn't feel normal. I feel like it'll be higher than that, unless I'm crazy. Is that there's because I'm saying 7 for the fact like I could have taken my next pick instead of, which you'll see in a second, but it would have been instead of Cam Akers either way because I'm on the turn. 7 seems low.
Yeah, I think honestly, like your typical, there's some, just computerized mock, whatever ADP is happening here for fantasy pros, but. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said earlier off the top, a typical draft, it's going to be wide receivers. You're going to see at least the second round, I think. If the first, like what we have here, 3 wideouts in the first, even that seems a little off. But the second round, I think you'll see more like Hill and Debo and Mike Evans and these guys, I believe, even Keenan Allen will go in the second round.
So I went with Debo, even though I'm kind of I still think, I feel like Debo is the least safe of Tyreek, who just went, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown. Because I don't know if he runs. I just don't think that they're going to do that to him again this year. But even if they don't, maybe it's more in the passing game. He got his big contract, whatever it might be. You scoffed, Lauren. Were you frustrated with the Debo, or were you frustrated with Tyreek Hill at the
No,
pick?
I'm frustrated with you for taking Debo, is what I was mad
Okay.
about.
Okay, well, see, look, I got somebody back. Blame Chris, because I would have had Barkley, and then I would have maybe been nicer about it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking then, Lauren? Lauren, you got to wait a while. Do you really think Debo was going to make it that far, though?
No, but I hoped. let a girl dream. That's all I got.
Let a girl dream. Are you concerned? Legitimately, are you concerned that the touches skew back to the receiving game and then he's maybe not as consistent? Or what are your thoughts on Debo with the whole Russian new contract?
Oh, that with Debo, he's just one of those guys I feel that can really get it done. So my biggest concern for Debo is going to be the quarterback situation, the new regime that they have with Trey Lance. So I was hoping he'd follow just a little bit more because people were, hopefully have that same question mark as I do. But he might lose touches simply because he doesn't want to rush as much. But I don't know.
Are you watching training camp reports? Trey Lance is making all of the throws. So
baby.
Oh God, everything happens well in training camp. All right, I have a decision I'm going to make here, and I may be shooting myself in the foot.
While she's thinking, continue. You got another 50 seconds. I want to get Chris on his pick on Mike Evans. Chris Godwin likely sounds ready for week 1? Question mark? Is this, are you factoring that in, that you think Chris Godwin's out there, or are you thinking that he might not be 100%?
I'm factoring it in that I think he's going to be out there. Even if he's not 100%, I mean, he's on potential pitch count. I expect him to be ready. There is a lot of moving pieces there, with the addition of Russell Gage, and they signed Julio. I'm not too concerned about Julio, I think it's, good news for maybe Gage, who can, I think ultimately the Julio signing is probably just best for Brady. But also, these guys will all eat.
What isn't best for Brady?
Exactly. I guess some reports yesterday about losing some offensive linemen. I haven't seen any news today, but certain guys went down in practice yesterday. So we'll see. That could be a certain concern. But, man, he threw the ball more than anybody last year. They don't care. It's like back in the day when the Pats were up by a couple touchdowns, Belichick would maybe just run the rock. It just wasn't the case last year and the year before with the Bucs, and it's just Tom Brady dropping back and chucking and chucking and chucking. 66% pass rate, I believe, was number 1. So all of these guys are going to be fine. I think Evans might be a little inconsistent in terms of targets, but he's a touchdown machine. Double-digit touchdowns again this year and 1,000 yards.
Okay,
pretty safe.
So what are you thinking here, Lauren? Lauren started Diggs, Andrews, Keenan Allen. No running backs to start. And I have a follow-up question once you continuing no running backs. 0 RB. So this is Lauren's through the first 4 rounds. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, Mark Andrews. Nathan, valid point. People are going to want to know because you could have, at the board, you could have started Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette. Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, which I think Kamara is going to move up now that it sounds like he's not getting suspended this year. Do you still feel solid enough in your team that you could have started bell cow RB? Now you have 0 RB so far.
I'm gonna okay. This is at that point right where I just chose Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert is where if you're gonna do the 0 RB strategy, that's where you start getting sweaty palms and shaky hands, and it's freaky, right? But I mean, this is a mock draft. What I like to have a bell cow running
Mom
back.
Spaghetti.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's true.
I was waiting for it.
Right, Eminem. And so would I ideally like to have a running back in this situation? Sure. But I'm testing this out. I want to see what it looks like. And
see, that's a good thing. Sorry to cut you off, but that's a good thing. Like when you're doing mocks, this is like experiment. This is see how it turns out.
That's why I said it at the beginning. Yeah. That's why I chose 10, is so I can see what this looks like.
By the way, wide receivers going like crazy as making up for everything. Chris just took one of them, took Travis Etienne after 4 picks weren't wide receivers in round 3, and so far only 5 are not wide receivers, and one of them's a tight end in round 4. So sorry, continue, Lauren, and then Chris, say why you went with ETN with what else was on the board. No, Lauren, you continue as you just stare at the board.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. I thought you said Jay. I thought you said Chris Meaney. Sorry.
Can I get a new co-host?
Oh man!
I said continue with your thought, or finish your thought, and then Chris can explain his pick.
I mean, I'm just echoing what you said. What I said in the beginning was, that, that's the purpose of mock drafts here, is to kind of experiment. What I'm gonna have to, really do, because the stringent 0 RB truther is that you don't select a running back until the 6th round. So I want to know, is that something that's going to be viable? And I want to see who's available when it comes back around to me. And I wish you wouldn't ask me that, as you just have your, sitting on your pick right now, knowing what it is that I'm looking for when it comes back around to the 5th round to me. But
so I'll let Chris talk about his pick in a second. I'll stop.
Look, you got 10 seconds.
I know, for the first one of the two. I am getting a third.
There you go.
Already.
Thanks.
No, I get the concerns. We've talked about them on this show. We talked about them on the election. Everybody's talking about them, but it's because everybody's talking about them that if you're going to give me late 4th, early 5th on Antonio Gibson, I'm going to take him with all the risk, because what if rookie Brian Robinson doesn't make an impact in the NFL and it's just Gibson and McKissick, which we've seen before, and Gibson's still a fringe RB1 even with McKissick being healthy. So the upside at this point, you've now baked in. What do I say, Chris, all the time? Don't buy all the risk. I'm buying all the upside at this point. So I have no problem doing this. So I have 3 running backs. I'm obviously not going with another running back at this point. So I know we got the news, but my feelings of this pick as well, is the fact that even if it's Jacoby Brissett for 6 games, the volume, everything sounds fine that he left practice and it's just more precautionary. Amari Cooper, I think, is going to see insane volume this year. And insane volume Amari Cooper. I think people are just tired of him at this point, and that's why they don't want him. So I'm taking him as my second wide receiver. Really like my start. Why ETN, Chris? And what are you thinking with your next pick?
I got a server error. Hopefully I can make my pick. ETN. I was thinking that maybe Breece Hall, ETN, these two would be there, and I'd make that decision at that point. But yeah, we haven't seen ETN yet. He was really good in Clemson. Is a guy that they can move all over the field. They don't have a lot of really pass catching options there. Like Kirk got overpaid. Marvin Jones is near the end. They got a couple other little misfits there. Zay Jones and things like that. But ETN, I'm not completely like just, oh wow, he looks amazing in practice. Like we've seen all kinds of reports and him in practice and catching passes. I've seen them certainly, but this is a guy that he kind of reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara. Is a guy that will be used into the backfield, will kind of run between the tackles. James Robinson's coming back from an Achilles injury. It looks like he's going to be fine. And I do believe Doug Peterson when he says he potentially could be the lead. But, man, ETN's ready to go here. I'm really comfortable with him being my RB2, even in a half-point setting. And I wanted to lock down that RB2. Just
I knew you have flexibility. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, and then we take our boy here. I mean, we say our boy. Normally in this spot, I really
Brandon
love
Cooks?
Allen Robinson this year in the 5th, but I mean, I got Cup already, so I'll go Cooks. Yeah,
Cooks,
already having Cup.
Cooks or Allen Robinson is Allen Robinson going to make it? Is he going to make it? Is going to make it? Hold on. Lauren, Allen Robinson's still on the board, and you have no running backs.
I'm still going to take him. I'm in my 5th round, so I'm going to
All right,
take
well,
the
wait.
upside with Allen Robinson.
Before we get to that.
It was going to be Brandon Cooks or Allen Robinson, so thank you for taking that decision.
I can't
away
believe
from me,
Allen
Meaney.
Robinson made it there. So you get to wax poetically about Allen Robinson for like the 17th time on the show as we continue
I know.
to love him.
I love Allen Robinson. I absolutely adore
Chris,
him.
Brandon Cooks, but Davis
I make
Mills
my
is his
pick
quarterback,
yet?
Chris.
But
No,
Davis Mills,
you
I
have to
mean,
wait.
this guy
I want you to
can't
wait till
wait.
5 seconds.
How is he a quarterback? And like, he was probably the best rookie last year. We talked about it last week. I'm sure everybody knows, but just in case, like what Jake and I talked about with Brandon Cooks, the top 10 wide receiver in each of the past 2 seasons with piss poor play at the quarterback position. And Mills wasn't even that bad. He was like serviceable. The team has so many holes defensively. You know that they're going to be chucking. What did he have, Jake? 40% of his team's air yards was inside the top 6. He had a healthy 30% target share inside the top 7. You're not going to normally those type of wide receivers, and it was like Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Evans and Adams. Those guys go by the end of the 2nd. So we're just getting Cooks in the 5th because he's got HOU next to his name. That's basically it.
You have to wait till 2
Literally.
seconds left to take Allen Robinson. You have to wait.
Why?
I just want you, just because draw it out as long as possible. For you to, still no running back on the board. Oh, okay. Make your Allen Robinson pick.
Yes.
And talk about
All
how
right.
much you love Allen. Oh, let's see. Okay, Elijah Mitchell. Do we get up? Josh Jacobs were the top 2 running backs off the board. You are now looking at Lauren. For everybody out there, if you do true 0 RB like Lauren did from the 10 spot, Diggs, Allen, and Allen Robinson, amazing. Justin Herbert, Mark Andrews, arguably the top, if not the 2nd tight end, top 5 quarterback, 3 wide receivers inside the top 20 for some people like myself, and you have 0 running backs. The top running backs on the board, according to Fantasy Pros here, is A.J. Dillon, timeshare. Miles Sanders, timeshare. Damian Harris, timeshare. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt, Chase Evans, Rashad. Are you even going to go running back right now, given what's on the board?
Yeah, I think
Don't
I
let
am.
him talk you out of it. I don't mind this range. I don't mind.
No. This is one of the. I really like all of these running backs here that are in this, and one of the positives, if you will, about a 0 RB strategy is that you're taking. It sounds like I'm getting running backs by committee, which I am. However, I like the position of a lot of these running backs that are in what we call a committee, but I think because of their situation and things that have changed specifically for AJ Dillon, which I really like, with the loss of Devontae Adams, the loss of Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Equinemius St. Brown, I wonder how much Aaron Jones is going to be involved in the passing game, which then leaves opportunity for AJ Dillon. Don't forget, he had almost half the snaps as Aaron Jones did. So I'm taking him. Give me AJ Dillon. So now I have my elite wide receivers, I've got my elite tight end, and I have my elite quarterback. And here we go. And then I have it at worst case scenario, I have an amazing insurance policy in AJ Dillon.
So 2 things. One is I do like the A.J. Dillon and the fact that, especially because if Aaron Jones goes down, he's one of the ones that we've also seen. First of all, A.J. Dillon has standalone value.
Yes.
And if Aaron Jones gets hurt, we've seen he's going to be the true bell cow. Like, we've already seen that. So that's a double hit there. On the sidebar, Chris, as you're about to pick, I want to do the thing from He-Man and just, Team 8, Drake London? Like, what are you doing overdrafting Drake London to this spot? He's supposed to fall to me. He wasn't even a top 5 wide receiver still left on the board. How did this algorithm let him take Drake London? What the freaking hell? And that was his 4th wide receiver, or hers, whatever it might be. But anyway, so Chris, you're up there. Yeah.
Some of those mocks, some of the mocks as we did last week, I think it was a 10-team mock and everyone's got 2 quarterbacks. Like, those type of things are not going to happen, and they shouldn't happen. If you're in a 10-team league, there's really no reason for you to have 2 quarterbacks unless it's clearly a super flex league. I'd like London, but for him to go ahead of Rashad Bateman, even like Gabe Davis here, I would probably, when I split hairs, looking at projections, I kind of go with the team with the better offense. Like, I probably would have went Gabe Davis there. I'm going to go Bateman in this spot.
It's a great pick.
Get another wide receiver. But
so what I was thinking,
Meaney,
too, your Bateman pick, I was going to maybe take Lamar Jackson before my running back run and then see if Bateman fell to me later so that I could stack those 2. But instead, I went with the Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen stack. But again, I would be loading up on a lot of Ravens there because I already have Mark Andrews. So that's a lot of eggs in one basket, if you will. So I decided to go ahead and go with the Justin.
I think I'd rather that Chargers stack, though. And again, splitting hairs, better offense, aggressive play caller.
It is splitting hairs,
but quarterback that will throw the ball a little bit more.
So let me, before I ask you a follow-up question, Chris, I want to answer. I saw two things. Kyle Woods, if you have 2 running backs to fill, I'm the person that I want 2 in the first 3 rounds, and everybody knows that. I'm not beholden to that. Like, there have been drafts because of the value. I can't force myself. I'm not going to be stupid about it. That being said, the 2 is because now, again, I just talked about why I liked your pick, Lauren, but the dead zone from the 4th to 7th round-ish, you might get Gibson, ETN sneaking in there. So that's why I think this year it's more down. I think it's more down the 5th to 7th round this year, but chasing those running backs, I'm getting wide receivers. I'm getting Cooper at that point, which I'm about to talk about in a second. I'm getting my next wide receiver and Gabriel Davis at this point, who Chris, I was going to take Bateman or Gabriel Davis, so I appreciate that. You made the decision for me.
I'm surprised Davis is all the way down at the end of the 6th. That shocks me.
So that being said, that's why, because I'm looking at wide receivers who are definitive 3s, if not 2s, who could potentially be top 15 versus chasing a timeshare. Again, I like the way that you did your team, Lauren, for what you're doing, but I just don't want to be in that boat. The Amari Cooper thing, and you guys can tell me if I'm crazy here. So somebody asked, and they said, why over the other wide receivers like Cooks and Godwin and stuff like that? It's because we've seen him finish as a wide receiver 1 multiple times. Everybody gets annoyed by him because of his inconsistency. We finally saw the true Amari Cooper with Dallas, banged up last year. And again, I go back, it's volume. And then he gets Deshaun Watson after 6 games, which we didn't even think might be 6 games. So you tell me 140 targets for Amari Cooper, even with Jacoby Brissett. It's the Brandon Cooks argument, and it's in what I think between Brandon Cooks and Amari Cooper. What you said, Chris, it's a better offense.
Yeah, it is. And there's really only one definitive target there. I mean, Njoku's had some nice moments, I hear, in camp with Watson, and that could be he could be a sneaky little tight end as well, going outside the top 15, who could potentially be a top 10 tight end. I mean, if Watson does play 12 games or whatever he does suit up for. But yeah, I mean, Amari Cooper's he's kind of been hit or miss. There's been some inconsistencies, but overall at the end of the day, he always seems to finish as a strong wide receiver too. And my only concern to the Amari, and I don't even want to bring it up, is like, oh man, you went Schultz. Okay, so you got me back. I knew he was going to do it, man.
Because
we'll talk about him in a second. I think he's a top 4 tight end at worst case.
Thank you.
So, my only concerns with Amari, and it's so stupid to say, it's so silly, but I'm just going to bring it up anyways. It's a cold weather city for him, and there always seems to be like something bothering him. Like, he seems to be questionable or soft tissue. He played in Vegas, or he played in Oakland, and then he played in a dome in Dallas. And that's it. It's silly. I've been to Cleveland twice. I froze my ass off both times watching games there. So good luck, Amari. But I mean, there's terrific value there. And I am a little bit bummed that you took Dalton Schultz here.
Well, and we'll come back through our picks. We're going to have plenty of time at the end. But everybody knows we talked Schultz yesterday, Lauren and I talked Schultz. And it's what do we know about Darren Waller? Could be the 3, because Hunter Renfrow is not going to disappear. Maybe he's the 2 again, but could be the 3. George Kittle could be the 3. What do we know about Kelsey, Andrews, and Pitts? They're the 1 or 2. Dalton Schultz is the one. They just lost James Washington. Like, people were all like, oh my God, James. Like, it didn't make that big of a difference in my projections because it was James Washington and a rookie in Jalen Tolbert, who I do like. Michael Gallup, not ready for week 1. Who's the number 2 in Dallas? It's Dalton effing Schultz.
Yeah.
And he was awesome last year. He was fantastic.
You took my Damian Harris.
Oh my God. No, he didn't. He took Jalen Hurts. Started the quarterback run.
I look at that. Yeah, there was a couple quarterbacks. I don't know if I have too much Hurts, but I'm definitely fine with taking him in the 7th. But you guys know I like Trey Lance. I'm surprised he went as early as he did.
You took my Jalen Hurts just to be annoyed with me.
I was thinking about Matthew Stafford. Not so much that I need to have a quarterback with a wide receiver, but that's a pretty good, to have Stafford and Kupp. I really like that. I like that strategy.
So
you can get Stafford
I'll come back to Lauren with that same question. I want both you guys to answer that question. So Meaney first. You just said, because of the quarterback situation, are you one to in seasonal stack your quarterback and wide receiver, or do you just kind of no?
I don't need to. I'm not going into my draft thinking about it, but if I end up with like a Kupp or a Robinson, or I have a Sutton or a Judy, I don't mind the thought of having, the quarterback to match up with the Stafford or Russell Wilson. But, Hurts, I don't need to match anybody up with them. Trey Lance, you can get Ayuk. You're pretty cheap. You can do that if you want. But it's not the end of the world for me. Like, I could have went Brady. You know what I mean? I could have went Brady and had him with Mike Evans. But I feel like Hurts, I think I don't want to say there's more upside, but I like where Hurts is going in this spot. It's like a nice, solid rushing floor.
So make your pick, Lauren, and then so was Justin Herbert because you had just taken Keenan Allen, or was there other thoughts behind that?
It was a toss-up between Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert because when I do a stack, what I really want to look for here is I'm going to be able to maximize the amount of fantasy production I get out of each player, not necessarily them combined. So Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback. I want to take him. Keenan Allen was the best wide receiver that was on the board. I want to take him. So it just happened that it's stacked. I'm kind of the same way. I don't have to have a stack when I go into something. But if it is there, that is something that I do like to be able to maximize the amount that I can get from that offense. It does put you in a pickle on bye weeks, which stinks, but that's what we have a bench for.
By the way, shout out to Moe's. I didn't know they had a stack. My buddy told me, he was like, I'm getting the stack. I was like, what's a stack? I didn't even know they had this. Like, I get Moe's plenty. Like, stack it. Moe's? Amazing, by the way. I love it. So just a quick sidebar there. So Lauren, make your pick because I'm curious where you're going next. Now you have two running backs, A.J. Dillon, Rashad Penny. Similar situations, similar upsides. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh, my gosh. I thought, Casey, I call you out of the chat. I was like, don't mention his name. I am so annoyed. So real quick, Lauren, you went Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who could still be the one. People this time last year were still drafting him in like the third or fourth round. And if everybody remembers the year before that, he was going in the middle of the first. Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire fallen too far before I get to the pick that went right after you?
Ooh, I think he has. I think that has to do with how disappointing that he's been to a lot of fantasy managers. So they kind of want to look over him. But I'm going to go back to the reason I did not take Travis Kelce is one of the reasons why I would take Clyde Edwards-Helaire all day here is because they're going to have to do something different with their offense if they're going to want to succeed. And I believe that has to do with the run game. Yes, it's going to be in a committee for sure. However, I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has enough standalone value that he can be considered an RB1, and I'll take him.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see how your team finishes out here. This is an interesting build, like you said, to see how this works. Chris, I'm going to get your thoughts on how you're thinking right here with your pick and then explain your pick. You can just kind of make it a real quick version. Juju Smith-Schuster, I am so pissed off that he went because Juju Smith-Schuster should not be in the 8th round. He is the number one alongside Travis Kelce. I know he's not going to get Tyreek Hill's share, but why the hell is Juju Smith-Schuster going this freaking late, Chris? And then you took Alan Lazard. You got sniped on Robert Woods, I'm assuming also too, maybe?
Yeah, I really like Robert Woods. We may be alone on that. I think Lauren likes Bobby Trees as well.
I love Bobby Trees. Love me, Bobby Trees.
Yeah. Juju and CEH, I think they're both really good values. We're still talking about a pretty good offense here in Kansas City. I know everybody improved inside that division, and maybe they're the only ones that took a step back. But Juju's not too far removed from 90 plus catches. There's some questions on. You got a rookie Sky Moore who I like so far. We'll see if the hip injury is significant. But MBS, I don't believe in. McCole Hardman, I don't believe in. There's gonna be a lot of attention on Travis Kelce this year. So I actually thought that I could get CEH or Juju with my next pick. I was debating Juju when I went Hurts. And I think CEH, just to jump in on that conversation with you guys, I think he's a terrific value in round 8. Are you kidding me?
I know, right?
There's still upside there. Ronald Jones, are we really excited about Ronald Jones? No. The only thing that bums me out about CEH is that they brought back Jerick McKinnon. And he did have a good playoff. He led the team in playoffs in rushing yards and receiving
yards. Wasn't CH hurt though? Backs. Wasn't he banged up?
He wasn't 100%. He did have one strong game throughout the playoffs. Maybe that had something to do with it, but there's certainly a lot of upside with CEH at this point where it's way too early in his career to write him off.
Yeah, and I'd like to jump in on the Juju Smith-Schuster argument. So one of the things that we know about Juju Smith-Schuster is the experiment that the Steelers did, putting him out wide, did not work. He is not good at creating separation. He lives and breathes in the slot. So he is going to be literally feasting off of what Travis Kelce cannot get because of all of the defenses that are going to be taking him out of that Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now, one thing about Patrick Mahomes that's very interesting is, yes, he has a beautiful deep ball, normally because he's throwing it to Tyreek Hill, but he also, I think, 70 or 80% of his throws. There's a crazy number. I wrote about it for an article with the Fantasy Footballers. It's 3 wide receivers to remember, and Juju Smith-Schuster is one of them. And I think that he's going to have a really explosive year this year, and a lot of people are overlooking him because of what Patrick Mahomes is going to need to do by necessity, and then Juju Smith-Schuster can get it done, especially if he's playing in the slot alongside Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he's actually he might be the picture of my last year's trash article this year, which is coming out next week or the week, depending on when you're watching this and in your area. So the Brandon Ayuk pick, I know people are I wanted to bring this up, and I purposely made this pick for
That's a
conversation purposes. Well, so I already have Debo. I'm not using both of them. Not with Trey Lance. There's no way, like, unless Kittle gets hurt and then just as Debo and Ayuk, and I still don't want to do that. But what don't we know at this point if it's definitively going to be Debo Ayuk? We all assume it's Debo. We all assume that. We always do. But the fact is like, what if it is Ayuk? What if Debo ends up being a bust of a contract? We don't think that's going to happen, the likelihood of it. But drafting this early, I've covered myself to at least get the number one wide receiver. I don't think it's Ayuk, but at this point on the board, given the other wide receivers, I'm looking at Treylon Burks. I don't really have a lot of faith in Treylon Burks for his rookie season. I love him more for next year. Claypool, I think, could be passed by George Pickens, all that type of stuff. Like, I just did it for that reason. And then Cordell Patterson, I wanted to throw out this too for you guys, is I think this is like something that people miss too much. Is like, if you get 3 running backs early like I did, they just ignore running back for the rest of the draft because they're like, I'm set. And then they end up with 0 running back help on the bench if anybody gets hurt. And you've kind of taken away your advantage. Like, don't lose your, like, Lauren, if she didn't draft another wide receiver for the rest of the draft, would have lost her entire advantage, lost her entire advantage of being 0 RB. Like, Joe Pisapia talks about it all the time. It's in his book. It's RPV. It's like, don't ignore what you gained in strength and then have it go out the window because you ignored it the rest of the draft.
It's a good point because I sometimes fall into that as well. We're doing a mock over at FTN, and I was I think I picked 12th, and I actually went RB. I think I went Mixon, Swift, and Breece Hall. And then I was trying to tell myself, like, okay, RB. And don't ignore RB, like, later on, again, in your draft, like in the middle to late round, right? Because there still is a bit of advantage there. Lauren, you're up. I went Tony Pollard to get my third RB here. He's a guy I think that I can comfortably play, actually, week in and week out as a flex.
That was the tone in your voice shifting was legitimately the definition of why not? Like, sure.
Shooting for some upside. I was, as Lauren, you're about a minute away. I was really debating on Pearson Cook in that range, and I'm actually shocked that they went immediately after that. I thought maybe that those two would slip. We can get into the rookie discussion, but there's going to be a league winner between Pierce, Cook, or Algier, and maybe Spiller. One of those 4 are going to pop, and it could be a difference maker.
Lauren,
you guys think?
I know.
I do too. Oh, no. I was going to say, I was going transition to you. As Chris and I both, we've actually had that conversation. I just downplayed Treylon Burks, and then you took him. Is that just to be like, haha, in your face, Jake? Or
No. I like what the opportunity that he has with the Titans. So I want him to be a solid bench, maybe flex opportunity, spot start, depending on what it is that happens. I want a piece of that offense because of what the Titans lost.
Okay. That's
Makes sense?
Certainly fair. So what do you? Yeah, 100%. Fair. And he's your 4th wide receiver, which we just talked about. So I'm assuming you're not doing quarterback or tight end for the rest of the draft. So another running back, you can start building that bench for shooting for the stars here.
I'll just take him just because. Yes.
James Robinson. I don't mind the James Robinson pick at all.
Terrific value.
Right?
It really is. Yeah.
Holy running back run. By the way, if you want to see proof of what you just talked about, Chris, so I'm glad actually that happened too, is because, look, Darrell Henderson, Stevenson, James Robinson, Michael Carter, Algier, Ronald Jones, he could be the lead. Isaiah Spiller, love some Isaiah Spiller, especially if anything happens to Austin Eckler. Naeem Hines, that's the entire 10th round so far. Running back galore. This is what happens if you're, and I'm glad this did this for this reason. If you are, Lauren, if you are wide receiver heavy and you only have 2 running backs, you got to think about an 8th or 9th round because you're about to hit a run like this in a lot of your drafts because this is when they start flying off the board because people get desperate.
And I really like the guys that went in this range. Like, take a shot on Cook. Why not? There's never had that in Buffalo. They've been wanting that type of back in Buffalo. It's been a 2nd round pick. They tried to get J.D. McKissick. Pierce has got like Mack and Burkhead to compete with. That's it. I'm not crazy about Henderson, but I understand maybe, in the 10th there, if you're not a big
believer. Well, and McVay came out and said, he's like, I have 2 starting running backs between Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. So it's like, all right.
He does. Robinson in that range to be the lead. We already talked about it, like not too far removed from being a top 6 running back. Stevenson in that range too. And then I really think Tyler Algier, I'm going to take Cole Kmet here. I really think Tyler Algier is, I think he's going to lead the backfield. Like you drafted Cordell, and it's fine. He could still be sprinkled in. They can move him all over the field. But Tyler Algier might be in the best landing spot among rookie running backs. He really may be. There's like not a lot of competition there. He's a big body back. He's certainly probably going to be the goal line back there. I know it's the Falcons. They're not going to score a lot of points, but him and Pierce are in really good situations to lead those backfields. Where Hall is great too. I think he's the best rookie clearly, but there's still Carter there, and there's still Kenneth Walker and Penny. Like there's still situations where there's kind of other backs that could, at least cut in early on in the season.
Definitely agree with you there. In this range, we're in the 10th round for everybody that can't see the draft board, which, by the way, you can go to YouTube. And also, reminder, that's where drop in the comment after the show. We appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that type of stuff to get free t-shirt. Congratulations again to this week's winner. By the way, I didn't mention this. Code ALLIN, 20% off at FTN. Go do that too. Or go to The Athletic and click on either one of my articles and get your deal of whatever the deal might be right now. Great deals right now. 10th, 11th round. When I'm looking at the board, this is a mistake. What do I say every single year about this too, Chris? Lauren will get tired of me saying this all the time. If you're thinking, I need to fill in my bye week, stop. Don't draft that player. Don't. You don't want waiver wire players right now. I want potential league winners right now. And that's why, while I believe 100% Elijah Moore is the number one, what if it is Garrett Wilson? I want other names on the board. Sorry, it's Absolutely. 9 of these teams aren't us, so you might get sniped anyway. But, Olave, what if Michael Thomas is nothing? I'm going down this list and looking at other wide receivers. Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson. Like, I want league winners. I don't want, who else is on here? I don't want DJ Chark. Like, okay, what is he? Maybe got a couple weeks until Jameson Williams comes back and Amon-Ra St. Brown's the air anyway. I don't want Marvin Jones. I love Marvin Jones. I used to love the hell out of Marvin Jones. I don't want him anymore. You can find him on the waiver wire. So I want league winners, which is the same thing I'm going to do at running back here. And I'm going to draft the one in case what happens if Leonard Fournette goes down. I want the next man up in the Brady offense, Rachaad White. I am drafting league winners, not bench options in the 10th, 11th, 12th round.
Love it. I love it. I love that call there, White. And I really am interested to see how Lauren's team. I actually like the way you're shaping this. But my reason why I partly like to grab maybe 2 running backs in the first couple of rounds is,
which I do too. P.S.
It's the value here at wide receiver. But I think it's cool to do both, right? I've done that as well, Lauren, to avoid RB and then really hammer home. Like we just talked about some of the value between round 7 and 12. And there are some potential league winners here too. Like you mentioned, Jake, you just did Wilson. I think Gallup, even though he's going to miss a couple games, when he's back, he could be a wide receiver too. Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd was a top 40 wide receiver. Some people are like, oh no, one team can't support 3 wide receivers. That is false. That is absolutely false. When you're on an up-tempo offense and a good quarterback like Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd finishes a top 45 wide receiver. He is absolutely fine at this point. But I have to go running back. With all that said,
all that being said, you have to go running back.
I'll probably
have one more round. I didn't do 16 because I wasn't sure how much time this would take, so we only have 12. We'll talk about best on the board and other so all that type of stuff. So continue, go ahead and do that.
McKissick and Williams, both of these guys are just past cat. I'll go Williams here because there's 3 in Washington, but I think they're both decent late round on non-sexy flyers.
Oh man,
which one? Khalil Herbert or Michael Gallup?
Michael Gallup.
I like the Khalil Herbert
really
pick
wanted
here.
Him.
Mostert's a nice flyer. What if he leads that backfield? Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards might the latest news
I don't know
is
if
that
he's
not
ready. Yeah,
I know.
I don't even know
Gallup. But I do appreciate most of these picks here. Outside of we know McKissick's just going to be McKissick. Like, what's the upside of McKissick? Darrell Williams. If James Conner goes down, okay, I don't mind it. But most of the picks in this round are that. I wanted to answer a question while you're thinking, Lauren. In here, Andrew asked about Superflex. Not only just Superflex, 16 Superflex. You got to get your quarterbacks. Like, if you don't leave the first 3, this is like the running back. If you don't leave the first 3 rounds with the quarterback, because you need, I think the biggest thing too is just math it out. There's not enough quarterbacks, and then even in a 12 team, there's not enough quarterbacks to make up for the bye week already. Half the league is not going to have a third quarterback for the bye weeks in a super flex. So get your quarterbacks in a super flex and don't get screwed.
Yeah, I'll bank on that. My fantasy footballers writers redraft. I picked 14 out of 14, and I went back to back quarterbacks. I just said,
I would too, especially on a turn like
I'm
that.
Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford. Peace.
You're waiting so many picks till it comes back around.
It's bad.
That,
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Jacoby Myers. Yeah, Jacoby Myers, is that a bench or is that a, hey, it could be the number one?
I think that's a speculative number one wide receiver. I want to wait and see. So I want to see what this guy's going to do. I like Jacoby Myers. I like what he is able to do with Jones. So I've
he
always liked
caught a
Jacoby
touchdown
Myers.
last year.
Yeah, he did. And I think as Jones gets better, and which I think he will in his second year, I think it still will be his favorite target. So, oh Lord, what do I do now?
You've got 2 minutes for this. This is perfect time. We're going to wrap up this show, and then,
I know who I'm taking.
And then okay, go ahead.
The heart of my heart, who helped me win my
Kirk
league.
Cousins with his great smile.
Taking Boston Scott, baby.
Boston Scott.
Okay.
Love Boston Scott.
Well, that's my browser, by the way. That is actually Foxy's browser to see what ads pop up on there. The ads continue to populate there. Free ads from these people out here. Don't look at them.
I saw some lingerie earlier.
Oh, really? Missed that one.
Deal.
I want to know what this Lumify thing is. Does that make like eye wrinkles go away?
Let's make our picks.
What to do? I mean,
Valdez, Scantling, Sky Moore, Landry, Van Jefferson, Rondell Moore all went off the board before your pick, Chris, and now it's down to you. I'm obviously going quarterback with my last pick because it's the 12th round. I have to take a quarterback here. I was going to wait it out forever.
I love the value on Sky Moore there. Why can't he be like we talked about Juju and Travis Kelce? Why can't he be the guy? I would much rather him than MVS, I think. Yeah, I mean, we're just like sitting in a situation like Deontay Foreman, really good season last year. You're just hoping for, you're not hoping for an injury, but that would be the only time that he'd probably be fantasy relevant. Sony Michel is kind of a non-sexy pick, but I could see him having the most carries in that backfield in Miami. Wouldn't be shocked. Maybe I'll do Parker. Maybe I'll do Devontae. I don't. This is a guy that I'd probably cut right away. Like this New England offense, I'm not excited about it at all.
You just move on for the first one. And as we end this perfectly, I'm the last person to take a quarterback. Fortunately, this draft, which should be a lot of leagues, we don't see a lot of second. Actually, there's not a single team that has drafted a second quarterback yet. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Stafford.
Stafford.
Seriously? Projected standings. Let's check them out. We're going to do all that next show. So for everybody out there watching in Canada, Game Plus, everything like that, we'll see you next time, which will be Monday for the second part of the show. We're going to continue to go through this and talk everything out. I'm going to be talking about the draft board. If you want to see the draft board, go back and check out the previous show. You can pause it and see it like right towards the end of the show and see it because we're going to go through it, what's left on the board and everything like that. So thank you. And let's continue as we move on. But we'll see you next time if you're in Canada. So anyway, next one. So the fact is, can I see? Let's see. I'm going to try and click on the projected standings, and hopefully it lets me go back.
I'm actually shocked by my grade. I'm not going to lie.
Are you? What? Okay, real quick.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Time out. I just thought about this. If you're watching in Canada, welcome. Welcome to the show because this is the Monday show. As you can see us wearing the same clothes from the Wednesday show. We just did the mock draft, and now we're going to discuss the mock draft and players on the board. Our teams, all that sorts of things. Code all in, 20% off at FTN. Go to The Athletic, either one of my articles. And any of my articles, you get $1 a month or others deals or whatever it might be. That being said, let's get back into it for everybody that's still watching live. And you can go watch on YouTube live. And drop in the comments to potentially win a free Bang Kickers t-shirt right behind me. You want one. You know you want one. Projected standings. Guess who's in first place? Of course, me! First place.
Of course.
890, Team 7, Team 11. She's taking a break, obviously, from the show. 11.
Well done, 11. Well done.
Meaney's in 4th. Stepmom Lauren with 0 RB, 6th. I think that's going to be very interesting to talk and go through your honestly. If you pull up the draft board, what I was going to say, so these are some of the names. Can we still see who's on the list or who's left? No, we can't. So,
that were people that were undrafted? No.
Yeah, I was going to see who is still there, but we can't see that. Oh, well, too bad.
Steals
we
and
could
reaches.
do it by,
Interesting.
But yeah. So let's go through it. We'll let Lauren go first because that's the most interesting one. Lauren, went 0 RB. If everybody doesn't have the draft board up, real quick, Lauren picked the 10th spot. She hates it. She was doing this intentionally for everybody out there. This is to see what this team makeup would look like. She started Stephon Diggs, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, Allen Robinson, no running backs, true 0 RB until round 6. A.J. Dillon, Rashad Penny, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 3 running backs in a row. Comes back with Traylon Burks, James Robinson, Jacoby Myers, and Boston Scott to round it out. First question to you, Lauren. Looking at the team after, would you do it again? That's the important question.
No, I wouldn't. But what I would change about it is I would take a more solid RB1 earlier. Then I would do a pseudo 0 RB strategy because I really did like the options that were there between the 5th and 7th round, for the running backs.
You're getting choked up.
Sorry, I almost died. So apparently I don't like my drafts. I'm really
Yes.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so I did. And the really where the 0 RB strategy can work the best, which is a very tricky draft strategy, is when you're in the back of these rounds. Now, if you're drafting early, don't be cute. Don't shoot yourself in the foot and pass up on guys like Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. Just don't do that. But I wanted to see what this would look like when I didn't have those top 3 to 5 elite running backs that are in that tier. So if I went with the top tier elites from the other position groups, where does that leave me with the running back position? And I don't hate it because these guys have every potential to become an RB1. God forbid, we never want to wish injury, but they also have standalone value as well. So I'm actually getting pieces of the running back by committee. And again, A.J. Dillon is the one that is very interesting to me because of the amount of time that he was on the field with Aaron Jones last season. And now there could be a completely different way that offense has to run. So I think A.J. Dillon is going to get a lot more work as the traditional Derrick Henry type of player, if you will. And Aaron Jones is going to usurp some of those 103,000 vacated targets from Devontae Adams.
So Dillon can catch too. He's going to catch probably 30 passes.
Yeah, he can.
If, Lauren, looking at this and everything you just said about it, if you would have went with, somebody asked about this in the chat while we were doing this, if everybody goes back to the first show and said you could have started Joe Mixon and Fournette, Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, if you could swap that out and then redo your draft. So you lose Diggs and Andrews, so you probably end up with Keenan Allen. Maybe you don't take Herbert there, and you could have gotten Waller, Schultz, or Goddard later, and then still got a similar team. But you start with those 2 running backs, and now your wide receivers are Allen Robinson, and maybe Rashad Bateman, Gabriel Davis, Amari Cooper, something like that. If I gave you that option, would you just straight trade it out?
No, I don't think I would.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
I don't.
Standing
I don't
top,
think
I like it.
Yeah, I am. And one of the, for Joe Mixon, maybe. That's one that I would have to think about here. But especially if you're talking Aaron Jones and Leonard Fournette, for me, no, because Aaron Jones is a part of that. What was it? It was almost a 50-50 split between he and A.J. Dillon. Right. So no, I don't think I would, because I have the talent at the tight end position, which is a huge drop off later on as you go. And, we're guessing when it comes to Dalton Schultz, which I think everyone here is right when it comes to how good he's going to be. But if I miss out on Dalton Schultz, well, now I've just shot myself in the foot with the tight end. So I want to know that I've got that booked up, and I want to know that I have an elite quarterback. So that I don't know if I would in this situation, but that's only because where I'm drafting from. That is literally because of where I'm drafting from. But no, I might think about it with Joe Mixon, but all the other ones, no. I'm going to stand firm on my draft.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you for your
and just real quick. When I took Boston Scott, I just want to mention something here. In my big money league, I went up against Jonathan Taylor, Justin Herbert, and Alvin Kamara. And I won with James Patterson and Boston Scott.
Jarrett Patterson?
Jarrett Patterson, excuse me, I said James. I'm thinking James Robinson, who was also on my team but hurt. And it was a Frankenstein team that I had to put together, and I ended up coming to win. And I beat Jonathan Taylor.
See?
I beat Alvin Kamara.
Now you
and
understand
I beat
why
Justin
I had
Herbert.
the Bayshawn Hamilton love, is because
well,
I went with 0
and that's
kickers.
the thing. Like, just because you have a stud running back does not mean that you're going to go to the playoffs here. So what I'm doing is trying to alleviate that running back by committee and those big time injuries to the number one RBs that really devastate your team because of the capital that you put on them originally.
So Lauren doesn't have any steals or reaches. Meaney doesn't have any steals or reaches.
No.
I got 1 steal. and Matthew Stafford at the end of the draft.
That's a crazy steal. Like that wouldn't happen either. But I guess this is only 12 rounds.
Yeah, so even so, still, that's insane. So
That's a
values.
crazy steal.
Lauren got a value with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 8th. I had a value with Cordero Patterson in the 9th. Chris, you got 2 values with Jalen Hurts and Tony Pollard in the 7th and 9th. But before we get to that, back to the draft board real quick. After seeing Lauren, hearing her explanation, and knowing what zero RB feels like, if you had this team, if you had
It's
Lauren's
hard to
team,
do. I was sweaty and shaking, and my foot was going. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
So if you had Lauren's team as a zero RB team, how would you feel? Like if I gave you her team, would you be like, yeah, I'm passing? Or would you like, I would have done it differently?
No, like you do have some targets that I like. I mean, your wide receivers, your trio, right? With Diggs, Allen, and Robinson. I think that's strong. You got arguably a top tight end and top quarterback. So you're really, really strong, probably stronger than anybody else when it comes to, just a starting lineup of wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean, Lauren knows this, and we all know, like, this experiment that she took. She is a little thin at running back, but if AJ Dillon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are strong RB2, she could certainly make this work. We like James Robinson on this show. He's a guy that when he's healthy could again be another strong RB2, and Rashad Penny was the best player in fantasy football throughout the playoffs. So maybe there's some upside with him as well. But I would definitely would like to have a bell cow as somebody that I feel like could be there, in all 3 downs and maybe not a time committee. So yeah, love Lauren, but I think I like my team slightly more.
She ran away because she was so upset.
Yeah, she's like, screw this. I'm not going to listen to these guys talk about my squad. But no, I mean, there's a lot of nice pieces there, and we're shooting for upside. Again, in that range that we talked about from 6 to 10, there really is some running backs that could work out. And there was a couple that I thought that I could get that I did not get.
So looking back, so let's talk about your team again. If you can see the draft board. We'll throw it up here after we talk about my team, just so you guys can get a shot of it on this show too. But you can go back to the first show from last Wednesday if you're watching this after the fact. But Meaney's team started with Cooper Kupp out of the 4 spot. Saquon, Evans, Etienne, or as our friend and close to Chris Meaney up there in Canada, Pat Mayo would say Etienne. To Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman as your 4, Jalen Hurts, Alan Lazard, Tony Pollard, Cole Kmet, Darrell Williams, and Devontae Parker. Your first initial thoughts looking back on this, anything you would have changed up differently? Do you like how your team turned out? You were with the 4th pick, so you're starting Cooper Kupp. Seems like, that's an easy start, but what do you feel about afterwards?
Yeah, I think maybe where I went off the rails, if I did, was probably around Hurts. I wish I could have finished stronger. My thinking was...
If I give you that option right now, if I said you can put Hurts back on the board and take Damian Harris or Rashad Penny or Edwards-Helaire or Ken Walker, like, would you make that swap right now?
Yeah, probably. Or maybe even take a wide receiver in that range with Hurts. So I'll just take a look at the draft board here quickly. I like the Hurts and Lazard. I could have did something different there. So instead of Hurts, maybe I go... maybe I go Kadarius Toney.
I was just about to say, instead of Hurts, Lazard, what if I gave you Kadarius Toney? What if I gave you Juju Smith-Schuster and Cordell Patterson?
Yeah, maybe not Cordero, but Juju and maybe Melvin Gordon, or a bit of a reach on. My thinking was when I did Hurts and I did Lazard. My thinking was that I would like. Yes, I wanted to get one of those rookie running backs. Like, look at round 10. I can't believe that I didn't get a piece of them. They all went right before me. Even round 9, Cook, Pierce, Ramondre, I'm fine with. Robinson, I already had Etienne, so I probably wouldn't have did that. But Algier and Spiller. Like, my thinking was that I would get at least one of those guys with upside to be my RB4. And I did not get any of them. But if I could trade those picks, any picks in, it probably would be Hurts and Lazard. And considering how this draft went, like, you got Stafford in the 12th. I think that Derek Carr is a top 12 quarterback this year. He didn't go get drafted either. So ultimately, looking back at this 2020, I forget Hurts probably, and Lazard, tack it with a running back, maybe 2 running backs, and then I round out at the end with a quarterback and another maybe deep league wide receiver.
Let me play hindsight with further up your draft. So you started with Saquon Barkley as your first running back, Etienne as your 2. do you feel uneasy with that much risk with your first two? I mean, those both carry risk.
Certainly
I mean,
some
we
risk.
know different risk, but you have a lot of risk baked into your two running backs. Yeah,
there is a ton of risk there. I just shoot for upside, shoot for ceiling. I don't want to play scared early on in that, in my drafts. I feel like, obviously, I mean, you can make a case for anybody in the top 30 to be league winners for you. But no, I'm fine with this. There's a little bit of risk, I think, more so with Saquon, to be honest, with your guy Saquon than there is with Travis Etienne. But both of these guys, if they play 14 games, I think that we could agree on this show that they'll both be top 20 running backs. Certainly Saquon will be a top 15 running back if he manages to play 14 games this year. Did you see the first practice? I know where it's like, wow, practice and whatever. But honestly, if you're a Giants fan, you got to be excited. They were running guys in motion in practice. Parker was going side to side. Kadarius, they didn't do that at all last year. So it's going to be more creativity in Buffalo.
Excited, but at the same time, it's practice, and as everybody looks amazing. Everybody's making I even made that joke. I said it's that time of the season. Everybody's making all the throws. Nobody can be tackled. This guy can't separate. Nobody can stay on top of him. All the except if you're Daniel Jones, who can't apparently do anything right now. That yesterday, well, when you're watching in your area, is yesterday being the August 2nd. He was on fire for the first time this camp, and it was just like I'm like. That's on fire. Like, that's the definition of, if that's the definition, like I hope I'm, this, I jokingly, I hope I'm wrong about everybody, because I don't ever want somebody to fail in the NFL. I don't want anybody to fail, but like, if that's the level, that's the bar to be on fire for Daniel Jones, I'm even worried about Saquon Barkley, because I'm worried about the offense of the year. If that's the bar you're giving Daniel Jones to be on fire, what are we doing?
Daniel Jones completed two
passes. He's on fire.
There's one thing I'll throw out, is that the reports in Philadelphia are not as good with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and maybe that's better news for the secondary and Bradbury and Ciely, who look like a pretty strong quarterback duo, but Hurts has struggled significantly in practice.
I legitimately laughed at Mark's comment. The guy in the red shirt avoids all the tackles, and nobody's even trying to tackle him.
I know. They just let them go. When there's like a little bit of a clear break, it's like, I'm not going to chase you down, and I'm not going to tackle you from behind.
Well, the red jersey, too. So real quick, before we get to my team. So, Lauren, your favorite and your most hated pick by Chris Meaney. So you have to do it. We have to praise and criticize each other on this show. And you get to do the same thing to her, Chris.
I can't wait.
Dude, I don't know if I have a hated one on here at all.
Come on. What one you don't like?
You gotta hate.
You would have made.
Okay, I honestly would have made almost all of these, because you sniped me a whole bunch of times. So I'm like literally hating on a team that I really wanted myself. Okay, let's see. I think you should have gone the opposite of what I did. So where you're drafting at here, at the 4th, I'm surprised that you went Cooper Kupp instead of taking Derrick Henry, because then when you're coming back around, perhaps Barkley would have been there, and so then you're starting with Derrick Henry and then Saquon Barkley. So just like you said, you like to have the two stud running back, and I did not. Obviously, you didn't do it here. You went with Cooper Kupp, then Saquon Barkley.
Oh, hold on. Then let me ask him that. So Chris, let's take that's good, Lauren. I'm glad you said it. So let's take Cooper Kupp, Saquon, Evans, Etienne, Cooks. Right now, you have the option to have Derrick Henry, Barkley, Evans, Metcalf, Cooks. Would you trade that team?
Nah, man. Cooper Kupp's such a stud.
There you go.
He's such a baller.
I tried for you, Lauren.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, it's super close. I mean, if you would have said maybe, I think I like Hollywood Brown a little bit more than DK, then I'd think about it a little bit more. But Cooper Kupp, I mean, come on, guys. Like, I mean, he's not going to do what he did last year, but 25 fantasy points per game. Like, he's just, I guess Robinson may take a little bit more.
Sorry.
But, go ahead. What's the, give me your favorite.
What's your favorite?
Rashad Bateman. That was my favorite pick.
That pained you.
That pained me. That pained
Even
me.
though you're like 7,000 picks away, but
I know, and I don't think I would have taken him, like I said, because because I got Justin Herbert. So but I already have Mark Andrews in there too. But that was a really good pick. I'm surprised that he was up at the 6th round. Did you reach for him a little bit, Chris? I can't remember.
No, I feel like he kind of fell to me. I wish they
Fell
would
to you?
give me
Okay.
the numbers of where he went, but I mean, quick math.
He's going to be the wide receiver one for the Ravens. And I understand it's like, oh, Lamar Jackson, all he does is run. He throws the ball as well. Just ask Mark Andrews. So there's 140 plus vacated targets from Marquise Brown. So if Lamar Jackson can get just a hair better on his accuracy, we can see Rashad Bateman just explode like we saw
34th.
flashes of last year.
Yeah.
So I like this. I like that pick. That one was by far my favorite. And I didn't hate the Cooper Kupp pick. I love Cooper Kupp. I just thought it was curious. I thought it was ballsy, which I think if you want to be in that
I just
position
want you to
at
know,
the draft,
Chris,
get it.
Lauren just campaigned for Cooper Kupp 2 or 1 yesterday, and now she hates that you took him at 4th. I just want you to
Like I just said, I said it was curious.
I love it. Well, like, let's be real. Najee Harris is not going RB2 anywhere. So, you know,
I've seen it once or twice.
I still would have went.
It's rare. Yeah. It's super rare. All right, so
that
Chris,
surprised me that Najee Harris went ahead.
Hey, we can't sidebar Najee Harris. We can do this another time. I tried to got like 6 minutes left. So I want him to praise you.
Bateman and Davis. Okay, y'all praise you. What do we got? Stepmala.
Stepmala, depending on how your team gets cut off.
Is that my new name? Is Stepmala.
Stepmala.
Yeah, I think the one pick I guess that I question is Andrews, but ultimately, like, again, we kind of had that conversation when we were doing the draft. Like Jake said, you go back and watch at that moment in the draft. I mean, I think it's not that I would have rather Kelsey. I just think at that point, probably shooting for, a running back, you getting Diggs there. So that's it. I like a lot of your picks. I love Robinson. I just really like Allen Robinson. I like the shot on A.J. Dillon, even though it's a timeshare. I mean, the red zone touches are pretty spot on with both of those guys. I think they're just going to run the rock so much in Green Bay this year. The defense is good. It's just not going to be Rodgers chucking so much. CEH, I like the value there. And then I guess maybe my favorite would be, if it's not Robinson, if it's not Allen, it's James. I think, getting James in the Robinson boys. I think getting him in round 10, for the strategy that you took, you're really shooting for some upside at the running back position, a potential, bell cow, even though Etienne's going to be in there, is, he is, when he's healthy, I still think he's a guy that touches the ball 15 times per game inside that offense. And I'm not crazy about Boston Scott because everybody's sleeping on Miles Sanders season.
Oh God, no,
it's happening,
Chris.
guys.
No. That's
a show for.
Stop now while you're ahead.
Topic for another
day.
For
next week or later this week, depending on when you're watching this. So for the expert opinions, I'm just going to say for my team, the thumbs downiest thumbs downs. The lowest grade I get is at 80. I just want you to know how awesome my team is. So, real quick, Fox, can you throw the board back up? I just want everybody that's like this see the amazing. Not granted, I had the first pick, so I have the advantage of Jonathan Taylor. But
you got 80?
No, the lowest I got was 80. The lowest.
Okay.
So from they give you the expert opinions, and so no, I got a 95, and I'm supposed to be 890 points to Team 7 in second place at 867. I'm supposed to dominate.
Which means he'll lose because these grades.
Oh, of course, that's how it works. This like you win the draft, you lose the season. So. Yeah. I will say it's like, so they're also the one thing I like on Fantasy Pros. It's like pick analysis is what we're doing. It's like it gives you options to swap out. The main one it suggested I swap out is Tony Pollard for Brandon Ayuk and then take Olave instead of Rashad White. And that would be the swap out there. I can see the Pollard instead of Brandon Ayuk again. We talked about Brandon Ayuk on the show at the time that I made that pick. The Olave for Rashad White, hell no. I don't even if I would have taken out and had a set, I'd rather have Pollard, Peterson, Wilson, Rashad White than to swap. I would take the third running back in that case because I just don't want Olave over Rashad White if I'm on the board. So I want to make sure we have time for this real quick. I'll run through again. The board's up there if you're watching live. Foxy, you can take it back off. I appreciate you. By the way, thanks for Fox for doing an extended show. Thanks, Lauren and Meaney. Make sure you're following both of them. Thanks for doing the extended show too. So Taylor, Akers, Debo, Gibson's in my flex, Cooper, Davis round up my 3 wide receivers, and then Dalton Schultz in the 7th, Ayuk, and then the rest. The one thing I wanted to ask you guys, I did take Schultz in the 7th, but if you see Hawkinson going 2 rounds later in the 9th, we are all team Schultz, but if you see Hawkinson 2 rounds later, would you go back and maybe change up and say, no, I'll leave Schultz there if I can get Hawkinson in 9th?
I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, that's the way it should go. Some drafts have Hawkinson ahead of Schultz. I agree with how this one, laid out. I'm actually kind of surprised Tanyan went as early as he did. I thought I was the only one who liked him. But,
excuse me?
You like Tanya too? Not bad. I think I'd take Schultz. He's the clear number 2 as of right now. When Gallup when he comes back, sure. But Schultz had a really significant role in this offense with Gallup and with Amari Cooper. So he's only going to improve. I think it's worth it.
Lauren, we already covered Schultz, so I want you to get the jump in. You can first. You don't even have to praise your favorite pick from a team. What pick don't you like from a team? What pick are you like? You're dumb, Jake. Because you guys want to do this. Before you get out of here, you both tell me how stupid I am about one of my picks. So I want to hear this.
Yeah, your dumbest one was Deebo Samuel for not leaving it for me.
That doesn't count.
So I know that like a lot of people do this. I don't like any of your rookie picks. So Garrett Wilson, Rashad White, I'm not
in the 10th and 11th round?
Yeah, I just think that there's better known commodities that have upside as well. So those are, but I don't blame anyone for doing it. I just personally would not, take on a rookie, even if it's in your last ones, because I still think that there are other.
Hey kids, stay off stepmom Lauren's lawn. Get the hell out of there.
It is so true. Like, get off my.
And your loud music.
Yeah, turn it down. They're gonna blow your eardrums out.
Chris, about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Is there a pick that you don't like, or is just my team too?
Well, it's just you already went over your Ayuk thing. So I mean, you took him for a reason. I wouldn't have done that with Debo, and I don't think you would have either. Normally, Cordero Patterson. I'm not normally in on guys who just had like I'm not in on Cordero
Patterson in the 9th round. In case Williams does nothing and Algier does nothing. I would have taken
Algier's going to do something. I would have taken Cook or Pierce in that range and shoot for that the Wookiee upside of that we like here, the rookies on this show. I say it like Cordero. I think you should have maybe stuck to your guns with some of your breakout candidates. Instead of Antonio Gibson, maybe J.K. Dobbins. Instead of Rashad White, maybe your boy Kenneth Gainwell. Like certain situations of those two guys that you like. I think that there is value here with Gibson at the end of 4, early 5, but there are really reasons to be concerned with this guy. Like, he was a wide receiver for a running back. His doesn't have the body type to handle 20 plus touches. They got a guy from Bama who can be the goal line back. And McKissick has like the 4th most catches among running backs in the last 3 years. He's on the field in 3rd down, and he's on the field in 2-minute drill, and they decided to bring him back. So that's it. If we're picking it apart, but. It's pretty strong. Like Taylor and Akers. My goodness.
Love those two.
That's real sexy. Yeah. No. Taylor and Akers is real nice.
I actually don't like the number 1 spot. My favorite is like 3 or 4.
I don't love it either.
Where you drafted. Yeah. 3 or 4 I really like. Lauren, if you could pick again, because this was a test, we'll get out of here on this, and then make sure you tune back in. We'll go through more of these type of discussions, and we'll have that whole talk about the basically Eagles backfield, apparently. Appreciate everybody. Drop the comments in there. Again, free t-shirt. If you drop in a comment, you're entered in the drawing. You don't get a free t-shirt. One of you will get a free t-shirt. So real quick, before we get out of here, Lauren, if you could pick your draft spot again of what you want this year, where do you want to draft this year? I go like 3 or 4.
You know what? I'm tempted to usually go around the 2, but in this case, I would go 1 or 2. So I actually do kind of like the 101. I really like how your team turned out. But I wonder how much of that was me doing the 0 RB, because that really changes the pool of players for everybody else that's drafting. But I won't be cute with it. I'll go 101.
Yeah.
I'm in the 3 or 4 range. I like that 3 or 4 range, or the maybe 9 to 12. There's a lot of guys that I feel like, Robinson and Sutton and Mooney and Kadarius Toney. There's some guys in that back range that I think you can get your hands on by
middle
kind of deals.
Middle sucks. Middle sucks no matter what.
Yeah, 3 or 4, 9 or 10.
We might have to talk about this again tomorrow if you're watching this on Monday, on Tuesday, next week on Tuesday. We might have to talk about, because I look at that Team 11's team, Adams, Higgins, Sutton, and then Cook and Elijah Mitchell and Josh Jacobs as the 3. That team, that's
pretty strong.
Yeah. So in any case, have a good weekend. Well, extended, because depending on where you are. News Tuesday, all sorts of good things. Follow Lauren, follow Chris, follow. Maybe you should be doing that anyway.
Jake. Yeah.
We'll see you guys later.